So again, welcome to CMA Workshop. My name is Maggie. I'll be your trainer this morning. And with us in the chat, we have Robert Rodriguez, who is also a trainer, and he'll be there to assist you with any questions as they come up. So as I'm going through the class, if you think of anything, or if you have a question and I haven't addressed it and you see I'm moving on to something else, you can definitely reach out in the chat. Robert will be here the whole time, and you can go ahead and ask those questions. What we're going to do is I am going to walk through creating a matrix CMA. And remember that CMA stands for comparative market analysis. So it's the act or process of using a subject property or studying it and then seeking comparable properties near that subject property so that you can get an understanding of what that estimated price range might be. So these are usually the reports that you use for your listing presentations, but you can also use it with a buyer. Sometimes a buyer needs to understand what a fair offer would be in an area or what the going rate is, and it's a great way to show them that as well. So we'll create the matrix report. We do talk a lot about the report in Matrix 301, so how to edit, move pages around, and whatnot. So what I want to do today is create the report, but I want to show you how you can add additional information from products or a product like Imap. And then we'll go ahead and we'll jump into RPR, and I'll show you what that report looks like. And of course, I'll make recommendations because that report can be rather lengthy. So I'll show you a nice little breakdown of what pages we recommend so that your report is a little more concise. So we're going to be using Matrix, Imap, and RPR. So of course, we're going to log into the gateway. Remember that you have your login on our website at the top where it says login with the Miami Gateway, or right beneath our announcements here in the center, right beneath it on the left, it says Miami Gateway. Once you log in with your license and password, of course, Matrix is usually in the first or second row. So right here, we're going to go ahead and click on Matrix, and we're going to pull it up. So because I have access to the MLS and I can't just go find, a property and take pictures and use that, we're going to pretend that this old closed sale from a couple of months ago is the subject property that we're studying. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the subject property, because part of the process obviously is knowing what the subject property has and then going and searching for those comparables that are most similar to the subject property. Okay, so this is a single family home in the Westchester area, if I remember correctly. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it's got about 1,500 square feet. Okay, now if we look at the pictures, okay, the interior is pretty up to date, right? They seem to have tiles throughout. Important features to look at, because when you're looking for comparables, you're seeking properties that are similar in size, characteristics, location. Okay, and then they've got a pool, right? So when I'm looking for comparables, ideally, I'm going to look for comparables that are obviously nearby, but that also have similar characteristics. So some of the similar finishes, bedrooms and bathrooms, pool. Okay, so now that we have an idea of the subject property, what it looks like and what we're looking for, and obviously we should also look for properties that were constructed in or around the same time period, right? So I can't use, or I shouldn't be using, if the subject property was built in, let's say 1960, I shouldn't be using a comparable that was built 3 years ago, right? So let's go ahead and jump into a search. We're going to hover over search and click on RE1, RE2. And the criteria that I'm going to use is the criteria that is recommended in the Pricing Strategy Advisor certification. So the PSA, which is the Pricing Strategy Advisor, it's a certification. It's a 1-day class offered by a certified Florida Realtors instructor. Usually we have it with an instructor named Cynthia DeLuca. And you can go ahead and sign up and take that whenever you see it on our calendar. And like I said, it's a 1-day class, and all she does is spend the entire day talking about comparables and characteristics and features to look for and what to do if you can't find enough comparables. So I would highly recommend that certification. The trainers all got to take that class about 2 years ago, and it was really helpful. So if you get a chance, definitely check it out. But I'm going to go ahead, and when we're looking for comparables, you're going to try and look for a mix of active and closed sales. And the closed sales should be from the last 6 months. So I went ahead and I checked off active and closed sale. Now, sometimes there are members who have said, I prefer to also add in active with contract or pending, or you might speak to a colleague or your broker and find that they recommend that as well. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to go ahead and add it just in case, because we never know how many comparables we're going to come up with. Now, it is a single family home, so we got to compare apples to apples. We have to check off or mark single family and then type of property single. Now, it does have a pool, so I'm going to go ahead and say pool yes. And you'll notice that we might have to tweak some things once we realize how many results we do have or don't have. So we're going to go ahead and start off and look for things that are as similar as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and say pool yes. So there's the criteria on the left. It says RE1 SF pool. I'm going to say yes. Now we're looking, because it's single family, we're going to look within a half mile. If it were a condo, we would be looking in the same complex, so in the same tower. We're going to go ahead and change where it says map search in the center from 0.25 to 0.5. And then where it says miles of, we're going to go ahead and plug in the address. Now, it's really important in this section that you look for that little suggestion that starts to pop up. So if you notice, it says, did you mean? It's really important to keep an eye on that and make sure it is the drop down that says, did you mean? Because a lot of our browsers, whether you're using, Internet Edge or Google Chrome or Safari, they retain information and they make it available so that you can use it quickly. But Matrix doesn't always recognize that information. It thinks that you left the field in blank. So we're going to make sure that it says, did you mean? Because that's coming from Matrix. You'll also notice that it says no map selected, right? We need to make sure that that phrase changes. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So when I'm plugging in the address and it says, did you mean? Watch that phrase that says no map selected. I click on the address and now it's changed. And in red letters, it's letting us know that the map area has been selected. If that does not change, then the system doesn't know where we are trying to pinpoint the center of that circle or create that radius. So we need to make sure that that change occurs. Now, on the right-hand side or in that last column, I mentioned that this property has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and they have approximately 1,500 square feet. They actually have 1,490 square feet. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate a 20% range. If it's a condo, I'm going to calculate a 10% range. But let me go ahead and pull up a calculator, because if you're like me and you're visual, you need to be able to look at what it is that is being calculated. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my calculator really quickly just so that you can see this. So it's got 1,500 square feet. If I calculate 20% of that 1,500 square feet, I'm going to see that it comes out, so 1,500 times 0.2 is 300 square feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a range. I'm going to look for a minimum and a maximum, which means I'm going to take 1,500 minus those 300 square feet, and I get 1,200. I'm going to take those 1,500 square feet and I'm going to add those 300, and I get 1,800. So I'm going to look for properties that have a pool, that have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms within a half mile of this subject property, that are anywhere between 1,200 and 1,800 square feet. Okay, so similar in size. That's how we're figuring out that similar in size. So I'm going to go ahead and in living area, I'm going to plug in that range that we just calculated. And again, if you have questions or you need any clarification, remember Robert is in the chat to help. And I realize that I've got 4 matches. Okay, now when I'm looking for comparables, I need to find at least 4 properties that make good comparables. If I have exactly 4 results, the likelihood that all 4 of them would be great comparables, statistically, we know that's not very likely. So I need to adjust this. So what I might do is I want to look for properties that are the same, but maybe instead of looking for sales in the last 6 months, I can go ahead and expand that to the last year. So where it says closed sale, by default, the system puts 180 days, which is 6 months. I'm going to go ahead and put 0-365, okay? and I still get 4 matches. So now I have to start changing things around. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the 180 days because I'd rather have something more recent. I'm going to switch that back. Let's get rid of the pool. If I say pool no, or not no, if I leave it blank, I have 11 matches. Okay, so now I know that I may need to select comparables that don't have a pool, and we'll just make adjustments to that a little later in the process. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just to review the criteria to make sure we're all on the same page, I selected the statuses active, active with contract, closed sales for the last 180 days, pending, single family, single, and then I have remove the pool, so I left that blank. In the center, we're looking within a ½ mile of the property address. That phrase has changed, and in red it says map area selected. And on the right-hand side, we have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and we were searching for properties similar in size. So we created that 20% range, and we came up with 1,200 to 1,800 square feet. Let's go ahead and review those 11 matches. I click on results, right? And I see I've got 2 active, I've got 1 pending sale down here, and I've got about 8 closed sales, right? So what I can do is, and the reason that we kind of should be getting a nice mix of a little bit of active and closed sale and whatnot is because closed sales are for the last 6 months, and maybe that market has changed in 6 months. So we need to see what's currently going on, and then we need to decide from there what we want to include as comparables. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this first one, right? And kind of look through. And they've got wood and tile. They have a backyard, so they have, you know, space as well. They have an above ground pool. Maybe I want to include that one. Kitchen's a little smaller. Maybe I don't. I'm going to go ahead and say no. We click on next. Okay. This one's got a garage. Ours did not. They've got more space, but it looks like they need a little more updating. And our subject property was a little more, the kitchen and the bathrooms were a little more modern. They don't have a pool, but they also have a pretty big backyard or space. We go to the next. So you're gonna look, this is our subject property. We're gonna look at each of these and we're gonna find something that's most similar, okay? So this one seems to have the same features. Bathrooms seem to be updated, right? There's an office, they have a pool, which perfect. Kitchen, great. I like what I'm seeing. I read through, similar in size. It's a tiny bit smaller, but by 140, 150 square feet. Read everything, great. I think it's gonna be a great comparable. I'm gonna go ahead and check it off, right? No one said that the process of selecting comparables was going to be quick. It's not a magical wave a wand situation, as I say. But this one also seems to be pretty up to date. They've got the tile flooring, right? So they've got tile just like our subject. They also have a pool. Great. So I want to include this one. I'm going to check it off. Click on the next one. Okay, inside also looks like it's up to date. It's been remodeled, right? Does it have a pool? It does not, but they have space for a pool. I still think this is a great comp, so I'm gonna go ahead and check it off. But I already know, I'm gonna make that note, that when I get to the adjustment part of this process, I'm gonna have to adjust for the fact that it's lacking a pool, right? So far I've got 3, right? And I need 3 to 4 good comparables for my CMA, right? This one doesn't seem to have a pool either, but the interior seems to be similar. Right, things seem pretty up to date. They have that tile flooring, the big larger tiles, just like our subject property. Great, I think this is gonna be a great comp. I can check it off. Now I can stop here if I want. I still have a few more to go, or you can add a few more in. Again, minimum should be 3 to 4 good comparables, right? I don't think this is gonna be a good one. That kitchen was in need of more of an update. This has wood flooring, great. Let's see the interior. That kitchen, those cabinets also needs to be updated, so it's not like our subject property. I move on. Right, it's good to check everything and not leave any stone unturned. Yeah, same thing, kitchen seems to be, and bathrooms need a little bit of an update. And this is our last comp. They have wood floors and bathrooms are not a lot of pictures, right? So if they don't have a lot of pictures, better to be safe than sorry. We're gonna go ahead and move forward with these 4 checked properties. So I'm gonna go back to my grid, click on Agent Single Line Display, and here are the 4 properties that I checked off. At the bottom of the screen, under Actions, there's a button that says CMA. I'm gonna go ahead and click on CMA, right? And if you've gone to our Matrix 301 class or you've watched our videos, you've gone through this entire process with us. Okay, so we're gonna select our contact. If we haven't saved them as a contact, we can go ahead and create a new contact on the spot. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is for Audrey. Select your language. We have English or Spanish available. And then in the description, we recommend typing in the property address. It's a free field with no character limits, so really you can type whatever you'd like. Okay, but this way when you're looking at your list of CMAs, you can kind of see where the property was and who the CMA was for. All right, so once we're done with this, please remember that it auto-saves every step of the way. So right here it says auto-saved, we don't need to worry. After we're done with start, we're gonna go to pages. Now these are the pages that I recommend, right? The cover sheet, there's 2 different styles. It's up to you which one you select. Your price adjustments, if you need to make any. The pro report, your pricing recommendation, your guarantee, the benefits of using a realtor, and the map. If it is single family or a townhouse. If it's a condo, the map is irrelevant. But let's go ahead and talk about custom pages while we're here. What we just looked for were comparables in the MLS. Now those are sales and transactions and listings that have been entered into the MLS by real estate agents who are members of, Miami. There are times that sales occur outside of the MLS, right? That maybe it's a for sale by owner. And maybe I want to go ahead and use that or use those stats to help me get a better idea. And you should be looking at not just the MLS, but also something like Imap or something like Realist so that you can get an idea of what might be in the tax record that wasn't in the MLS. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to pause what we're doing here because I want to show you how to pull comparables in Imap and how you could take that page of comparables and insert it into this report in Matrix. So we're going to leave this where it is. And at the top in the menu bar, you'll notice that there is an option for Imap. There's a link for Imap right up here. We're going to go ahead and click on it. We aren't losing anything. Matrix stayed open in its own tab. Imap is going to open up. Perfect. We're going to make sure that we are in the tax search. On the left-hand side, you have 3 different searches. Make sure you're in the tax search. And then on the right-hand side, we are going to make sure that we are in Miami-Dade County. Okay, so we're in the right search, we're in the right county. Let's go ahead and where it says property address, let's plug in that property. So, okay, I plug in the address. At the bottom of the screen, I click on Start Search, and it's gonna pull up the information from the tax record for this property. Okay, so here's all the property information from the tax record. Let's go ahead and on the right-hand side, there is an option that says Find Comparables. Now, Imap has its own 2-hour class, and then there's an additional class that focuses on farming and prospecting called Show Me the Money. So if you haven't checked those out, I highly recommend those as well. But we're gonna go ahead and click on Find Comparables, and it is going to use criteria that I had already saved. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what that criteria is. I said lot size plus or minus 20%, as well as living area plus or minus 20%. I'm looking within a half mile. However, if this were a condo, I would switch it over to same subdivision. I'm looking for sales in the last 6 months. I'm ignoring the year built for now. If I need to specify that, I can. I'm ignoring bathrooms and bedrooms. Usually they're about the same. Okay. Now, I'm ignoring everything else and using best available sales. I have this set as a default. So every time I come in to search for comparables, I don't need to worry. It's already saved and it's using that criteria. So if you would like to, once you've got your criteria in place, save that so it's always there, you're going to set it as a default. Now, if for whatever reason you need to change the criteria because in that moment the results aren't working for you, you can change these criteria or these fields, but just update it. We're not going to save it as a default. We're just going to update it. All right, so if I want to make sure that it's got 3 bedrooms, I can go ahead and say same number of bedrooms, same number of bathrooms, right? And as you can see, it's reduced it quite a bit and it's grayed out everything else. Sometimes some people are okay with, plus or minus 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom. That's up to you. But what I'd like to show you, I'm going to go ahead and just reset all of this. What I'd like to show you is, there we go. You'll notice that these sales on the left-hand side where the numbers and check marks are, they have a blue R, some of them do. And that is the logo for a realtor. So that lets you know that those sales occurred through a realtor, which means you probably already saw them on the MLS. I'm more concerned with the ones that don't have that R, right? So if I remove the check mark and I get rid of all of those results that were sold by a realtor so that I can focus on those that were not, I'm left with 3, right? And of the 3, I can see this one has 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. I know my subject property has 2, so maybe get rid of that one, right? And I've got 3, 2, 3. This one's a 4-2. It's got 1 more. And let's see, do they have a pool? Pool, no. Okay, so we know that, and we can keep that in mind. But let's say I want to go ahead and I want to include this information in my report. What I'm going to do is I'm going to export this PDF and I'm going to import it into Matrix. So let me show you how. On the right-hand side, beneath your options where we found the comparables section, there's a small box right here, and you have an option that says Save as PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and save this page as a PDF, and I know it's going to go ahead and save in my download folder because I'm using Google Chrome. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to Matrix, and I know that I can upload PDF pages to Matrix. So maybe it's the comparables from Imap, maybe it's some marketing materials from your office, a flyer that you want to put in there. As long as it's a PDF, you can go ahead and insert into your report. So at the bottom of the screen, on the left-hand side, it says Manage Custom Pages. Okay, and if you've never used this option, it might say Upload Custom Pages, but it's in the bottom left-hand corner. I click on it, and now what I'm going to do is choose the file. I'm going to go into my downloads and look for it. There it is. Open. There it is. I'm going to upload it into Matrix. So on the right-hand side, I click on the upload button. And there it is. Now, every time that you load a PDF into the system, it automatically adds a header. And I always remove it. Let me show you why. Oftentimes, what we upload isn't designed with space at the top for a header. So when Matrix puts your header on there, it covers information and you can tell it's not part of the original design. It doesn't look right. So I always remove this little check mark. If you decide you wanted to remove something, so for example, I have an older PDF in here, I no longer need it, I can check it and then delete that. Right now, when I'm done, I click on Save at the bottom of the screen, and all I've done is uploaded it into the system, but I want to include it in my report. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and you'll notice that now it shows up on the right-hand side. If I want to move it around, I can use these arrows on the right-hand side to move it up or down. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it right before the map. I'm done with my pages. I can move on to the subject property. Now you have 3 options for the subject property. Again, we discussed these in detail in Matrix 301. I know that this property has been in the MLS, so I'm going to plug in that MLS number right here in the second option, and I'm just going to click on Fill. What this does is it takes that old information and basically copies and pastes it into your report, and you can simply update whatever may be different. You can also upload an updated picture. The remarks come with it. You can delete it, write something else, leave it as is. Right? When we're done with the subject, we can move on to the cover sheet. The cover photo, you can again update that photo. Here's your contacts information. Maybe you want to make sure to plug in that address. Sorry about that. And then you can also make sure your information is up to date. We do talk about updating that information for you in Matrix 101, but you'll notice that it does have links for you to edit your information or override. One thing I always point out, if you have not uploaded your picture or the broker's logo, there is a silhouette of two people shaking hands. It will show up on your report. So if you are not a fan of that silhouette, I highly recommend you edit your information and add your photo or the company logo. Okay, once we are done with our cover, our comparables are already here. We already went through that process. So here are the 4 that we selected. I go to the map just to make sure everything is located or situated rather near the property. We have this one, which is on the other side of 87th Avenue. We can remove it because we've got a major street in the way. So that's that property 8850. I can, remove it. Or if you didn't have enough comparables, it's not like it's that far away. But just pointing out that sometimes people like to remove things that are on the other side of defining features or streets. And when we're done with the map, we can make adjustments. So what we see here is we see the property, we see the comparables, we see the pricing, and as we make adjustments, this column that says adjusted price will change to reflect those changes. It will update it. Now, the values or the amounts that should be added or subtracted from the comparables depends on your additional research. Okay, there is no system that's going to spit out the numbers for you. When we get into RPR, I'll point out how there's a refined value tool that kind of helps you, but only to a certain extent and with certain things. So you do have to do additional research. So as I go through these columns, if I need to make any adjustments, I can, right? So they all have 3 bedrooms, they all have 2 bathrooms, but this property has a half bathroom, right? And the others don't. So I need to level the playing field by subtracting some value here. What is a half bathroom worth? This is why I mentioned RPR. RPR can kind of help you with that with the refined value tool. So if I jump into RPR, right here, RPR. Now, if you haven't used RPR, you do have to make sure to create your account. You all have access, but it's basically an activation process. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the property here really quickly just to kind of make sure. Let me see. There it is. Now, once you've pulled up the property, there is a tool right up here that says refined value. If I click on that, one of the things they can help me determine in RPR is the estimated value of a bedroom, a bathroom, a half bath, right? So this property has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. They don't have a half bathroom. Well, what if it had a half bathroom? What if I change that 0 to 1 and I apply that change? According to RPR's calculations, it would add approximately $16,000 to the value of this property, which means that in Matrix, if I need to make an adjustment, that means I need to subtract $16,000 from this comparable, right? So that, again, I can level the playing field. It has something extra, so I have to subtract. I'm going to go ahead and put that minus $16,000, okay? And I'm going to level that out. Okay, so minus $16,000. Why? Because I went to RPR and I used their refined value tool and I realized, well, if the subject property did have that missing half bath, it would have increased the value approximately $16,000. Is this a perfect calculation? Is it ideal? Maybe you don't agree with it, but at least you have a number to work with. And if you think it's too much, you can come down a little bit. If you don't think it's enough, you can boost it a little bit. But your alternative would be to run a search of closed sales that had a half bathroom as opposed to closed sales that didn't have a half bathroom in that area, find out those median sale prices, and then calculate the difference. So RPR saves you a little bit of time there. Now, with the refined value, I can't do anything about the pools, okay? So I would have to run a search and see, okay, sales in this area with a pool sold at X amount, sales in this area without a pool sold at this amount, right? And then I would use that value. Let's say $20,000. So now I need to boost this $20,000, right? I'm going to just type in the number. Again, adjustments are not an exact science. They require additional research and they require an understanding of that area. Okay. You can even fine tune the square footage, find the price per square foot, add and remove value that way as well. Okay. All right. I'm done with my adjustments. I click on pricing and I see that my pricing is hovering at, you know, I've got my prices as they originally were, and then I have my comparable prices for those adjustments, right? If you kind of look at median and average right here in the center, you see that it's hovering at about $470, $475. We recommend a suggested list price because that way you have a range to work with. What happens if you offer them an exact price? And it's up to you, it's your business. But if you offer them an exact price, if for whatever reason you have to make modifications in the future, it doesn't sell in a month or two and you think you should reduce, it makes it a little more difficult because you approach them with an original number and that's the number that they are going to kind of cling to, right? They're going to say, but you said that it could sell or that we should list at this amount. If you create a range, you're having that conversation early on. So really, it's up to you. But if I were to go ahead and create a range, right, maybe I want to go ahead and say 475 to 490, right? Of course, what are they going to tell me? Let's go ahead and list it at 490. But now I've already had the conversation that if we list it at 490 and it doesn't sell in 30 days, we've got to come down. You have your notes where you can add additional, you know, explanations or justifications for why you chose that price range. I'm going to go ahead and just type something really quickly, just so that you can see where it shows up on the report. Okay, and we are done. So I go back up to the top, click on finish, and I have the options to view the CMA, email it. These are the pages I selected, number of comparables, subject details. If I view the CMA, I'm going to have my cover sheet. I'm going to have those pages I selected, but I want to show you what it looks like with the Imap comps. Okay, so it's about 13 pages. Here are the adjustments. Keep in mind the adjustments are not itemized, so you would need to explain why those adjustments were made. That would be something you could add in those notes. Here's information on each comp, visual graphs to kind of break everything down, a table, your pricing recommendation. Your notes would go right here. Okay, so where I wrote after studying and analyzing this market, you would see it all down here, your guarantee, and here are the comps from Imap. Okay, so it doesn't stand out too bad. It blends in pretty well. Okay, and then the map. Now, where do you access these reports in the future? Once you've created them, if you hover over my matrix and you click on my CMAs, here are all the CMAs I've created. Let me go ahead and just rearrange these. Okay, here's the CMA I just created with you guys. If I click on it, I can edit, I can open it again, I can email it, or I can delete it. Okay, so where do I go to see my CMAs? I'm gonna go to my matrix, click on my CMAs. If you would like to edit, view, or email it, you're gonna click on it. So you click on the name you gave it, and you have your edit, view, email, and delete options there. Okay, so you've now seen how to search for comparables and create a CMA in Matrix. You've seen how you pull comparables from Imap. As you noticed, it's not a report, but you can take those comparables and insert them into your reports. Let's go ahead and jump into RPR and talk about RPR. All right, so I'm gonna go back to RPR. Remember, it's on your gateway right here. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go back to RPR. And when you pull up the property in RPR using the address, this is what you see. But we would like to create a CMA, which they call a seller's report. So we're gonna go ahead and create a comp analysis. We're gonna click on comp analysis, okay? And they kind of walk you through the process step by step. So once you are here, we are going to confirm the home facts. So step one, click on confirm. And then you can kind of just double check everything, make sure everything is correct, and then you can confirm those facts and close. All right, now, once you have confirmed those facts, the second step is to find the comparables. We're gonna click on find comps. Okay, here's the subject property at the top. It's looking for single family. It's looking for active for sale, pending. Let's go ahead and throw in the public record, sold within the last 6 months. it's looking for minimum 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. But let's go ahead and say 3-2, like our property. If you want it to be exactly 3-2, you would plug in 3-2, 3, and 2-2. Living area, they've created a living area that's a little bit broader than what we had done. You can leave it as is, or you can go ahead, click in here and modify that. You also have the lot size. Okay, you can include that or not, it's up to you. You should include it, and again, it's that 20% range. And then we need to set an area. Okay, so one of the things that our PR has is instead of using a radius, which you absolutely could by drawing a shape. So if you notice, the map has draw a shape. I can take a radius, go to the map, here's my subject property, drag it out 1/2 mile. But they also have geographies where they've mapped out subdivisions and sections and whatnot. So micro being the smallest, if I click on within micro neighborhood, they haven't mapped it out. That's fine. Minor neighborhood, they haven't mapped it out. Intermediate, there we go. Not saying that I would use this because it's a rather large area, okay? But you absolutely can. If you want it to be a little more specific though, you could just draw the shape, right? So you have your shape options, you have your neighborhood options. Let's say I wanted to look in this intermediate neighborhood. Okay, you're gonna select intermediate and you're gonna realize it says search in this area. I click on search in this area and it's gonna go ahead and populate all of these comparables. Now, if this is too much and I wanted to go ahead and specify something a little closer, I could just go ahead and say box, right? And I could say, I wanna focus on these. Search in this area. So again, you can either draw or you can use the neighborhoods that they've mapped out. Now, once you've got your comparables, you'll scroll down and you'll notice, here they are. All right. And if you've never used RPR, they have their own AVM, which is an automated valuation model. It's the estimated value of a property based on that product or that system's calculations. Okay. Now, the ones that have a star are the ones that RPR used to calculate the value. Well, it just so happens that the 4 that they chose, I think half of them, or I know for sure some of them, these 2 were comps that we chose as well. So you can go ahead and click on any of these addresses and it'll open in a separate tab so that you can review all the information. And then you're gonna add your comps by checking off the option that says add comps on the right-hand side. Okay, now let's say I want to use just 3 of the 4 they used, right? You're going to check them off. All right, so you're going to go ahead and now on the right-hand side, you'll see the valuation they've created based on the values, right? So they've got a really high range, but when you look at the amounts, they sold for $465, $447, $480. So what if I don't agree with this range? I'm going to show you what to do. I'm going to update the valuation and close. Right? And once I've updated it, the third step is the adjustments. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust those comps to see if we can get a more accurate price range. Now, if you are uncomfortable with what we did in Matrix, where you had to calculate the values and add or subtract them from the comparables, then RPR might be something you prefer because you can go ahead and you can say it's better or it's worse. And you can go ahead and let RPR determine what that means for those comparables, and they'll add or remove. So for example, 2 of my comparables have a pool, 1 of them does not. So I'm gonna say it's a little bit worse, right? And it's gonna go ahead and it'll adjust my subject property here instead of adjusting the comparable. You do not have control of those numbers or those adjustments, so just keep that in mind. But if you, again, if you don't feel comfortable trying to come up with those estimated values for those adjustments, you might feel more comfortable with RPR. When you're done making your adjustments, you're gonna update your valuation and close, which is at the bottom right. Okay, and now we have that price range. If I don't agree with this price range, I did my studies, I checked everything out, I analyzed everything in Matrix and Imap, and I still really wanna do that $475 to $490. You'll notice it says edit. On the right-hand side, you click on edit. You can enter a specific value. So maybe I just want to put something that's right in the middle of all of that. right? Or maybe the highest number because that's what they're going to go for. And then you can enter your own range. Okay, so you're not stuck with that calculation they came up with if you don't agree with it. You're going to save that. And then once you're done, you're going to click on Create Report. Now, it takes you to the report section. Here's the seller's report. If I click on more details, if I were to include all of these pages in my RPR report, it would be really long, okay? It would be 50 to 70 pages, depending on how many comparables were selected, all right? Now, in the RPR class, we do show you how to upload your information into your profile, which is then used to populate the information on your cover sheet, which is right here on the right-hand side. You can then also select which of those elements or items you want. Do you want to show page numbers? Yes or no? And if you go to Manage Custom Pages, you can also upload PDFs here, just like we did in Matrix. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and upload that Imap page that I had uploaded with you guys into that Matrix report. I can go ahead and do that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Manage Custom Pages. Okay, if you want to delete a page once you've uploaded it, you can. Here's a little trash can, delete it. I'm going to go ahead and add the one I just downloaded from Imap. I click on Add. Okay, so there it is. I open it. It's been added. Do I want it at the beginning of the report or the end of the report? You can't insert it in the middle, but you have the beginning or end. You can go ahead and click on Add. Oh, sorry, not Add, Save. All right, so there it is. And it's going to be at the end of the report. But I don't need all of these pages. So what I'm going to do is, I had left it the way it originally appears for you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this. All right. And I'm going to leave just the things that we recommend when you take this CMA workshop. Okay. Because we don't need the market activity for every single status broken down. That's a lot. Okay. So this is what we recommend. So again, I'm just going to leave this up on the screen. If you want to take a picture of it, you can. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can share. I have a screenshot. I'm going to see if I can share that with you guys in your chat. And if not, I can email it to everyone once the class is done. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave this up here for a few seconds. Again, if you want to take a picture, a screenshot, you can. Let me zoom out so that everything fits in one place. You got the option scrolling down. You can personalize the report with the recipient's name. You can display it now and it saves as a PDF, or you can email it. You click on Run Report. Now, if you decide to display it now, there's a little pop-up. It's going to take a few minutes. It's going to be here on the left-hand side, and it will stay here for 30 days. So I recommend once it's done that you go ahead and that you make sure that you save it on your device. All right, it looks like my report is all set. We're going to go ahead, open that up. And this is what the RPR report looks like. So it's about 10 pages. It's about the same as the Matrix one, give or take. Okay. Here is the information for the price range, the home facts, the map with the comps, each of the comps in comparison to the subject property, and then they dedicate one page to each of those comps so that you can really talk about why you chose them. Pricing strategy, and then here is that list of Imap comparables that we pulled earlier. Okay, now there is no need, I'm going to put this up again because this is one of the questions we get asked all the time. There is no need to save this. Once you click on Run Report, the system saves it and it'll leave it as your default for the next CMA or the next seller's report that you create. So before we wrap up class, I just want to show you really quickly how you would search for condos to create a CMA, especially because you're not going to do a radius, you're not going to do a map search. So you would click on Search, and we would repeat the same process that we did for the single family or townhouse, but this time we would specify condo. And instead of using that map search, you would go ahead and use street address right here in the middle. So I can actually plug in a street address. So for example, if I'm looking at the building that's located at 60 Southwest 13th Street, I'm going to go ahead and just plug in 60 Southwest 13. All right, I'm looking for units that have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a half bath. And with condos, location is important, floor location. So you're actually going to add in a field called unit floor location. So where it says additional fields, you're going to click on add or add remove. And you are going to add in the fields called unit floor location. Click on it, click on add. Once it's been added in, you can go back. And the unit that I'm studying is unit number 3021, which means it's on the 30th floor. So maybe I want everything that's above the 25th. I'm going to go down to unit floor location, and I'm going to put 25 plus, just to kind of focus on anything that's right around the same. Unit floor location, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 half bath. I'm down to 11 matches. With condos, you should create a 10% range, and this one is about 140 square feet. So, 1,400 square feet, so 10% would be 140. So it's gonna put my range a little differently. But also with condos, you know that they're all pretty much gonna be the same design in that row. So, and then you can go ahead and check on those results. But I just wanted to show you how to use that street direction option and also make sure that you have that unit floor location in there. Thank you again for attending today's class. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to be with us and maybe learn something new. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the trainers. And of course, stay safe. And thank you so much for being Miami members. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.